Hello, everybody.
Hi!
Welcome to Chapter 1, Lesson 1. Reconstruction and Expansion. This lesson is on the climate and geography of the Great Plains and the reasons why you would ever want to move there.
Who are we, by the way?
I'm Mr. Penka.
I'm Mr.
Hello. It's good to see you. Why would you move out to the Great Plains?
Beats me.
It's bad there. So what's it like there? It's flat. It's a plain, so it's flat. It's not level. It's bloop. So it rises from the east to the west.
Tilting a yardstick. So it's flat, but it's
Probably more like
rising.
with like mountains.
Yeah,
Mountains.
Yep.
Dab on the haters. So the Great Plains are flat, but they're not level, and so you're going uphill towards the Rocky Mountains in the west. A little rainfall. There's very little precipitation there. That means there's very little water for drinking for humans and for livestock and cattle.
And bathing.
And bathing. Water parks are very scarce.
Water balloons. There's no water balloons.
Right. It also means that it's hard to grow things there, and what plants are native to the Great Plains are often grass. Grass survives, but not huge trees. There's not enough water for them to survive. So little rainfall. Erosion from wind and water. Erosion is wearing things away. The soil gets eroded, land gets eroded, hairlines get eroded. It all gets worn away.
Completely.
Yeah. Some of us are really hanging in there. When you have mountains, when you have forests, all that stuff can break up the wind. When you don't, you've seen like Wizard of Oz. There's no place like home.
Earthy.
So they have those tornadoes whipping through there, and it's nothing to stop them from getting broken up. So you have wind coming in, and that water is all coming downhill in one direction. If you had a more like the interior lowlands area, you have different places for the water to channel into, but there's the water just goes straight down the hill, and you get kind of flash floods, and that stuff can kind of wear away the topsoil real quick. If you ever look at a flash flood, you'll see it's got trees and debris that it's catching up, and so if there was any good soil, if there was grass, sometimes it all gets worn away. If you planted your crops, flash flood comes along, wears away the first few inches of soil where you may have planted your seeds, if you could even break through the soil. So erosion from wind and water makes it hard to survive and grow crops there. And then dust storms. Now dust storms, you just have wind in general there, but if you've ever been to like the Outer Banks and along the beaches, what do they have?
Sand.
Dunes. Dunes. Now the dunes, you may see signs that say, keep off the sand dunes, right?
And you wonder why.
Well, why? They're trying to regrow the grass.
Which doesn't make sense, because don't you want the dunes?
You mean to go play on them?
Yeah. What's the point of having dunes if you got grass on them? They're not dunes anymore.
What's the point of trees if you're not going to chop them down?
Right.
You have these dunes, stay off the dunes, because the grass holds the dunes in place. When a storm comes along, those dunes act as protection. The soil stays in place. When the grass is dead, the soil just blows around and there's no protection. So the same thing happens in the Great Plains. When there's no grass or there's no trees, that soil just becomes dirt. Along comes the wind, and it becomes a dust storm. It's like a blizzard of dirt.
I like that.
Yeah, blizzard of dirt. The blizzard of dirt, you end up with cattle who get dirt in their lungs. They're outside, they breathe it in. People are getting very sick off of it. Their houses are being covered by it. That's kind of at the worst of it, and the worst of it's going to come during the
1930s.
The dirty 30s. The dirty 30s. Yeah. So the dust storms also make it hard to survive out there. It makes it hard for animals to survive out there as well. So why would you go there?
I have no idea.
Why would you do this? Reasons for westward expansion. This is going to be the same as what you had last year when you had Man Let's Go. Land ownership opportunities. So people are, the land is cheap, and sometimes the land is even
free.
They're giving it away. Who's giving it away?
Government.
Taking
it and then giving it away.
Yeah. So the government takes it from who?
Native American.
That is a dark chapter. Mm-hmm. So in order to get this land, this will lead to conflict with American Indians that might not have happened otherwise, to get the land, take the land, and give it to settlers. So, but the land is being given away for free, and that's very enticing. Adventure. You always have some nut job who just says,
Yeah.
"Why would I go? Because I'm bored and I'm rich."
That would be me. I'd be the nut job.
And so some people are drawn to just the adventure of it. That's always going to be true.
You like wagons.
Just the thrill of the wagons. The railroad is a big part of this for several reasons. It's how you get there. So it would have taken months to travel across the country along the Oregon Trail, and now you have a week.
Yeah, at the most.
Yeah, so
Plus, you can take a lot more on a train than you can on a wagon. And it's safer on a train than it is on a wagon.
Right.
And it's
you don't get dysentery. So the railroad is how you get there. It's how it's possible to get other resources there. So if you want to build things, if you want wood, it's going to have to come from the railroad.
and it's expensive.
Yeah. So railroad is how things and you get out there. It's also part of it's the business that makes the U.S. government want to give the land away for free. So the U.S. government is aiding in that because they want this railroad project to take off.
Gold and silver.
Yeah, gold and silver. People are going out for gold that's not really there.
Nope.
But where they think it is, they think it's in places like the Black Hills of the Lakota. And so why are we bothering to kick them off the Black Hills?
To get the gold.
We think there's gold. So gold and silver, opportunities for wealth, that's going to be true for almost everything else. End of slavery. So if you are in the Jim Crow South, which we'll get into later in this chapter, if you're in the segregated South and you want to have a new start, or you want to escape from the Klan, the KKK.
Well, there's nothing down in the South for you.
Yeah.
You're
So
not going to have a better life. This is your chance.
the South is still rebuilding following the Civil War. There's still destruction, devastation, not many jobs there. And so for many African Americans, being a cowboy is a pretty good way of life. No one really cares about the color of your skin when everyone's trying to survive. So an end of slavery, a new beginning for African Americans, that's a big part of why those people will come out and move to the Great Plains.
A lot of them went on the Pony Express.
Right. So that's why you're going. But now we mentioned the technology side of it. We have two things here. One is adaptations and inventions. When we say a invention, what we mean is something that people had to make, often with metal. So it's something they had to create. An adaptation is where you use natural resources in a new way, something that already exists, and you're using it in a new way, a new style. For the inventions,
The railroad.
the railroad, we already talked about that, easy shipping and transportation. And the windmill, we said it's going to be hard to get water. There's very little rainfall. So if you do want water, it's often going to be very below ground.
Deep.
Very, very below ground.
About that deep.
Way below ground. So that comes from the fact that in the wintertime, when there's precipitation, it's not in rain that hits and runs off. It falls and then slowly melts into the soil. So there is water underground. It's just very, very,
Rivers of water.
very,
It's a
very
lot.
underground.
There's a lot.
So if you have a windmill that can tap into that, when you see windmills at farms, that's not, it might provide some power, but what it's doing is it's doing the job of the hand pump.
Yeah, because you couldn't hand pump to I said hand pump. You couldn't hand pump.
You could have a hand
to-
puppet.
Yeah. But you couldn't do that enough for all your animals to drink. I mean, you'd be hand pumping all day.
Right. Then barbed wire.
I did her.
Barbed wire? That girl's trouble. Watch out for her. Barbed wire. Barbed wire is where you take a little prickly metal thing
2 pieces of metal.
and you cut it so it's sharp, and you wrap it around 2 wires. You twist it like a towel. When you're twisting towels, to have a twisted towel, you know, like that thing where you.
Oh yeah, yeah. Snap people.
Yeah. So you twist it, and you have these little barbs. It's a pretty cheap way to make a fence that people want to stay away from.
Because they didn't have wood.
Right. No wood. So no trees, no wood for fencing, but barbed wire allows you to have lots of fencing, especially when you're trying to have cows.
Oh.
So, cows. So steel plow. Steel plow is the name of my heavy metal band when I was in college.
Yeah, I used to listen to that.
Yeah. We wrote a song about barbed wire. Barbed wire! So steel plow is stronger than iron. So iron has existed for a very long time. Steel existed for a long time too, but steel is very hard to make. So it's like
And we'll learn about the guy who
your
made it
samurai
expensive.
sword, your samurai swords, and your armor, and so steel exists, but it's very hard to make. So a steel plow that took John Deere, Jonathan Deere. John Deere made a steel plow that allows you to cut through the very, very dry soil, thick, and plow your sod and plant your crops wee deep.
His real name wasn't John Deere. It was what his wife called him. John Deere, come home for lunch. John Deere.
True story. Adaptations. These are the things that we you take what already exists and you learn to use it in a different way. So dry farming, dry soil with little water, moist. It's a pleasant word. Moist soil deeper underground. Solve that problem of the how do you plant in the soil? You kind of water the crops from down below. So if there's not much moisture from up above, there's moisture down below.
The hard part is that the further you put your seed, the less likely it is to break through the ground. So there was a drawback to that.
So that's dry farming. Wheat, tougher crop, needed to withstand harsh weather. Wheat comes from the old world. Corn is a grass from the new world. So out in the Great Plains, getting Russian wheat ends up being a very durable version of the grass that can withstand harsh weather and is pretty durable, can withstand heat, withstand cold. So wheat. Beef cattle. This is a reason why if you go out to Texas and out into the West, the cow is a big part of the mythology. The
Texas
way
Longhorns.
out in Europe, you'd have like stories of knights in shining armor and dragons. But America's legends are kind of based around cows. Not as cool as dragons, but cowboys. Cowboys' job is beef cattle. To take the cattle and move them up the railroad and take them off to Chicago. So tougher livestock that can survive low water plants. These are longhorns, the tough kind of cow. Not the weak, wussy little cows we see in some areas around here.
Milk cows.
Yeah. Sod house. No trees for building, so you're going to use sod. And sod is grass with roots. So your grass, if I went out to a field nearby and I just grabbed a big chunk of grass and I have dirt attached to it, that's the sod. You use like a
sod cutter.
Yeah, a sod cutter. You can cut up your soil and make a little brick out of it. And you have a house made of dirt and grass. That's what sod is. Grass plus dirt equals sod. Plus house equals sod house. We're done. All right. Now on your left-hand page, you know what to do.
You do.
Yeah. Hey.
I'm out of here.
We'll see you on lesson 2.
Ciao.
We need a sign-off phrase.
Bye-bye.